In this presentation, I will be outlining the main aspects of constructivism before discussing how the theory differs from traditional ideas about teaching and learning. Additionally, I will also discuss the strengths and limitations of the theory before outlining how it relates to my personal values and beliefs about effective teaching. Constructivism is reinforced by the idea that the meaning is constructed by the learner. It has an emphasis on the idea that the construction of knowledge is from external as well as internal pieces of information. This procedure is usually completed through processes facilitated by working memory. According to Deshner and McMahon, constructivists believe that the thinker is both mentally and physically active in the construction of knowledge and therefore capable of self-regulating the learning process. The person who is the learner is not just seen as a vacant vessel to load up with information and knowledge, but the knowledge is seen to be constructed from past experiences and knowledge. There are a few forms of constructivism that put forward the idea that the socio-cultural context that allows knowledge construction to occur supplies the thinker with invaluable resources, support, and direction. According to Deshner and McMahon, constructivism takes several forms that indicate a slightly different emphasis on the process by which learning occurs and knowledge is constructed. Although there are many forms of constructivism, the forms I'm going to focus on are psychological constructivism and social constructivism, although I would discuss communal constructivism in relation to social constructivism. The definition of psychological constructivism is that it involves individual learners and how they produce their identity, beliefs, and knowledge during the learning process. On the other hand, social constructivism draws heavily on Vygotsky's belief that the social processes are integral to learning. In this form, the context of the learning should be social, reflective, authentic, scaffolded, regressive, and experimental. Communal constructivism that furthers the ideas and practices of social constructivism. A particularly useful tool in communal constructivism is e-learning. This provides tools for the acquisition of new information through exploration, experience, and communication. Communal constructivism also allows people to record the content, learning, and learning processes through technology. This allows students to be able to share their learning on both a local scale, but also on a global scale, create learning artifacts, and have a record of interactions. The central distinction between psychological constructivism and social constructivism is the emphasis that they provide. One emphasis is on the individual, the other is on the social contexts. The traditional classroom emphasizes basic skills, whereas in the constructivist classroom, the curriculum emphasizes bigger concepts. In the traditional classroom, it is highly valued to stick to the fixed curriculum, whereas in the constructivist classroom, having the students raise questions and be interested is the most valuable. The materials used in the traditional classroom are predominantly textbooks, whereas in the constructivist classroom, the learning materials can also include primary sources and manipulative material. In the traditional classroom, the learning is based on repetition, while in the constructivist classroom, the learning is interactive. Teachers in the traditional classroom disseminate information to students, whereas teachers in the constructivist classroom have a dialogue with students and only help students create their own knowledge. In the traditional classroom, the teacher's role is rooted in authority, whereas in the constructivist classroom, the teacher's role is rooted in negotiation. Assessment in the traditional classroom is conducted via testing and students getting the right answer, while in the constructivist classroom, the process of the work is just as important as the final product. In the traditional classroom, knowledge is seen as inert, and students often work individually, while in the constructivist classroom, knowledge is seen as ever-changing with our experiences, and students work primarily in groups. The strengths of constructivism are that it acknowledges that the learners are the constructors of meaning, and that they are always enthusiastically pursuing to discover and learn new knowledge. It makes known that the students' prior learning and background knowledge that they bring with them into the classroom and learning environment is significant to them gaining new knowledge. Constructivist learning is transferable. The students are able to create Organising principles can be used in any situation. It gives the students ownership of what they learn, and it promotes social and communication skills by developing a classroom environment that draws attention to collaboration and the exchange of ideas. The limitations of constructivism are that giving these students the ability to construct their own learning can take a lot of time and might make things complicated to set up. It is hard to effectively evaluate the learning processes of the students, as students may have different experiences with the learning process. However, valid and sufficient learning still takes place. From a teacher's perspective, there would be a lot of commotion due to each individual student wanting to talk about their own interpretation. I think constructivism relates really well with my personal values and beliefs regarding effective teaching, because I think to be an effective teacher, you need to allow your students to have freedom in their work. This will engage the students more, as they're able to work on a topic that they are interested in within reason. An example from my schooling is in Year 12 English. My teacher would set assessments without any specific topics or genres. So for instance, if he set a book review, he would give the students the freedom to choose the genre or the book that they wanted within reason. In conclusion, constructivism is a theory in which the thinker is both mentally and physically active in the construction of knowledge. It has many strengths, but it does take time to set up and may be complicated. However, it does allow you to give your students freedom in their work, and I believe this will provide more engagement in the classroom.